Everyone knows that meal prep has massive benefits if you do it consistently and if you do it right. It saves effort throughout the week, it saves time, it even saves a bit of food waste as well. So why do we all struggle so much to stick to it? The reason I personally feel is that people are doing it wrong, and I did for years. But this is my 4-step framework to stop getting overwhelmed when it comes to prepping your meals for the week. Let me explain. Meal prep for everyone is extremely difficult, usually because of the amount of energy that they have to give to it. Because even if you think about it, meal prep in essence means planning. It means planning your food shop. It means choosing your meals, first of all, that you're having. It means choosing whatever recipes that you're having, potentially calorie tracking them or calorie controls. You need to put them into portions. You need to go to the shops and actually pick all the ingredients. You need to write out a list. You need to potentially spend hours on a Sunday cooking them all traditionally. And then you're left with a bunch of Tupperwares that give tasteless meat because it's reheated in the microwave and it's pretty dry. So chances are you don't want to do that. And a lot of this comes down to people's energy or lack of energy that they've got to give to this, because there is so many steps between doing the prep, the planning, the cleaning up, etc. It takes so much away from people. So whether you have kids, you don't, whatever stage of life you're at, chances are you probably don't like meal prepping all that much. So I came up with a 4-step framework that really just shows you exactly how you can meal prep and take the majority of these steps away and have a bit of flexibility around it. And we're not even necessarily going to focus on specific recipes. We're going to focus on this framework itself. So let me explain, using these 5 spoons, why it's not necessarily the meal prep is the problem, it's the energy is the problem, and the amount of time that you have to give to it is the problem. So in any given day, let's just say family life takes up 2 spoons, 2 units of energy, 20% or 40% of your energy out of these 5 spoons for the day. Then you've got work, that might take up a couple of spoons, social events, anything in that given day. And if you're lucky, you've maybe got 1 spoon left, and chances are the whole process behind it takes up more than this 1 spoon, more energy than you've even got to give it. So you end up scrolling on your phone and then feeling guilty. You're starting the week overwhelmed. So I really want to try and take that away from people. So this 4-step framework is really just based around, first of all, your base protein source. And that gives you then the autonomy to do whatever recipe that you want based on that protein source foundation. The protein source, which we'll cover in a second, then you've got the decision, so what you then do with the next 2 steps. So decision is step 2, and then you've got carbohydrates and you've got fiber sources. That's the 4 steps, and they'll give you so much flexibility. Before I go any further, if you've made it this far and you're taking some value away from this, consider subscribing. This is YouTube's something that I've started again, and I'm actually really enjoying doing a bit long form educational content. Any questions, let us know below. And if you want a free shopping list builder, recipe book, etc., you can grab that below after you've watched this video. So step 1 is protein. So protein obviously is something that people want to try and get in because not only is it satiating, helps you recover, if it's done right, it can be extremely tasty and is the base for the majority of meals. So I'm going to give you 3 different options for the protein source based on the time that you have, whether you want to cook a little bit or you don't want to cook at all ahead of time. The first option would be buying a slow cooker if you've already got one, or a crock pot if you're from the States, and then a big cut of meat. So that could be several chicken breasts, it could be a cut of ham, it could be a cut of beef, preferably lean. You can use some of my recipes if you want to actually season them correctly and do all that sort of stuff. But even if we take ourselves away from the recipe itself and actually just use salt and pepper, when you throw that into the slow cooker for a number of hours, then you've got lean, tender meat to then use in different things that you can use for any of my other recipes with the cooked meat. So you've got toppings for pasta, you could have it with rice, you can have it with salad, you can have it in a sandwich, for soup for lunch, and that gives you the base protein source. And if you think about this and how it works, is that if you've ever had a roast dinner, you've had a Thanksgiving dinner, a Christmas dinner, these things last for days because we've got them in bulk. And you don't have to just reheat that meal because you've got the protein source that then you can put in things like sandwiches and wraps, etc. So that's the reason behind the first part. But I understand that not everyone has a slow cooker. I also understand that they're cheap, by the way. But if you're wanting something literally super quick, Another option for the protein to plate and to have that base protein source would be lean mince. So if you've got, say, 5% mince, you throw it into the pan, a wee bit of fry light, season it appropriately. You can use my Korean beef mince, you can taco mince, barbecue honey mince. There's so many different options that you can use, but even if you want to just base cook that, then you've then got that base protein source that you can throw in wraps, you can top pastas, have it with rice, etc., etc. And you can even have it with, if you've got lower calories for that day, like a naked burrito salad, something along those lines. And then the last protein option is for people that don't want to prep anything ahead of time. And that all comes down to the burger. So burgers are obviously something that are notoriously a cheap food or a bad food, but 5% beef burgers, lean beef burgers, chicken burgers, turkey burgers, even things like chicken sausages, meatballs, etc., as long as they're lean, it can be extremely good, and I'll tell you exactly why. So whenever it comes to prepping any sort of protein source, you have to look at the path of least resistance, the thing that's going to take the least amount of effort and energy. I spoke about washing up and doing all that sort of stuff. That's a major factor. At the end of a hard day at work, or the end of just any day in life, you don't want to necessarily think about, right, I need to take that out, I need to chop it up, I need to chop the rubbish bits off, I need to throw them in the bin, I need to wash up afterwards, and then I need to cook it, and then I need to make sure that then I've portioned it, etc., etc. Whereas if you've just got a burger, and you know that an individual burger is, say, 180 calories for that burger, then you can take it out, throw it into the pan, flip it, put with it what I'm about to show you, and then you've got a lean protein source that literally is taking no time at all, no effort, no energy. And the only thing that you need to wash, because you've not had loads of chopping up to do, is the pan itself. And a good non-stick pan, that shouldn't take much, if any, effort to actually do. So that's the base protein source. Then you're going to have to then make the decision. So the second point is the decision. So the decision is based on the rest of your day. The decision is based on the amount of calories that you maybe have or don't have. And then you base that around the next 2 points. You can make the decision from the base protein source what you're going to pair it with. So that comes down to the next step. So the next step is step 3, which is carbohydrates. So based on what you've decided and how much you have, the decision is also going to be around the time that you have to commit to these things. So when it comes to carbohydrates, are quite often given a bad rap, excuse the pun, because I'm about to show you raps, but it's the amount that you have of these that overshoot your calories, and then you end up over consuming them because they taste good. So, and I'll put a list on screen of like different carb sources and stuff, but I'll list a few just now. And this is where you need to go with what time you have. So when you look at pasta, for instance, pasta, if you were to go to an Italian restaurant, you would get a big huge plate of pasta. It's probably 1,500 calories. Or you can have your pasta, you can pair it with your protein source, maybe some veg, etc. on the side. And it's just making sure that you've got an appropriate carb source. And if you want a bit of an idea, not even necessarily based on tracking your calories, is start to look at like a palm-sized portion as a starting point. But then you need to choose what carb source you're having. So are you having something that's really easy to have, i.e. microwave rice? Are you throwing gnocchi in the air fryer, which I've discovered recently, with some veg through it, and then you're going to have your protein source beside that? Are you going to have some potatoes with it? Because potatoes are actually extremely filling. They're really high in the satiety index because they're actually great foods. But again, they are a wee bit messy to chop up and whatever else. So are you then buying frozen potatoes that you throw into the microwave, and then you have your base protein source, whether that's the mince or the chicken, and you have that with a baked potato? There's all these different options that you can think about when it comes to your meal, because you have that base protein source, and then you choose the next part based on how many calories you have left. And the last step is an important step, but I feel as if it's very much overlooked and overcomplicated for a lot of people, is veg, fiber. So fiber in general is something that is really a secret weapon when it comes to actually making progress, because I've never coached a client in my 10 years of coaching that if they haven't utilized some form of veg, hasn't found it easier, and then the people that haven't eaten any veg at all have found it so much harder and have ended up rebounding. Because veg doesn't need to be boiled, it doesn't need to just be steamed, it doesn't need to not be seasoned. It can actually involve sauces, it can involve seasonings, and it involve little preparation to no preparation at all. So let me explain. So my most preferred method to looking at your veg is actually looking at something that takes little to no time. And if you've got an air fryer, this is going to be perfect. So you've got baby corn, carrots, where you can either buy them chopped or you can chop them yourself, asparagus, tender stem broccoli, cauliflower, etc. If you throw them into the air fryer, it will take 10 to 15 minutes for them, if they're seasoned, a bit of fry light, and then you can have them to bulk up your meals so that the hunger stays away, and you can have that alongside your base protein source, your potential carbohydrate source, etc. You can dip it in some sauce if you want, because it's like veg fries. Another option when it comes to fiber is going to really be your frozen, right? Frozen, again, gets a bad name, but in actual fact, it's actually extremely good, because let's do a little bit of a point of view. At the end of the day, you don't have any fresh veg in. You don't know what you're going to cook. You've got your maybe base protein source there, but you're not really quite sure what it is that you want to make, and you can't really think. So you end up phoning a takeaway. But if you have frozen veg, whether that's peas, peppers, onions, etc., if you have them, even things like sweet corn in a tub, things that don't go off easily because they're not as fresh, but they're preserved at their kind of freshest point, would be perfect to then throw into a pan with some microwave rice, something really, really simple that's going to be half the calories, more nutrient dense than the takeaway that you would have ordered. You could do something like my busy person's Chinese fakeaway. There's so many different options here when it comes to veg, but you need to obviously stock the cupboards right. And again, if you want that, that'll be down below, so go and grab it. So to summarise, the reason behind doing this is the fact that you have a base protein source that is going to allow you to hit a protein goal. It's going to allow you to feel full, and it's going to taste good. It's not going to taste dry. And then you can start to build your meal around that. And I know there's different nuances to this. I know there's your food shop. I know there's calculating your calories, all of these sorts of things. But you're in the right place, because I've covered all of them. So I'll link them somewhere around this video or below or whatever. And you can go a food shop with me, calculate your calories, your weight, etc. And that'll cover that, because I could talk all day about this. But I really want people to understand this framework between protein to plate. So protein, decision, how many calories have I got left? Do I choose a certain amount of carbohydrates? Have I got loads of time? Do I choose this carb or that carb? So it goes, how much time have I got to cook the protein source? Little or none. And then you then choose appropriately. Then how many calories have I got to give to this? Do I choose more carbs, less carbs, or do I bulk it up with fiber? And then you choose how much time you have to give to these things, whether you're cooking potatoes from fresh, or you're throwing gnocchi in the air fryer, you're having some pasta, or you're even having some microwave rice. And I guess before I finish, the thing that a lot of people struggle with is trying to be perfect. But the chances are they're nowhere near perfect right now. So before you start trying to be perfect and prep all your meals, and before anyone in the comments says something like, microwave rice, what are you doing? Like frozen veg, all of this stuff is most likely a healthier version than what you're currently having. And that's the whole idea behind this, is what's the next logical step for you, and then you can start to work your way up in terms of the nutrient value, the freshness of the food, etc, etc. And if you're enjoying this content, you made it this far in the video, and you want a free book, free recipe book, shopping list guide, calorie calculator, go down below. And if you're interested in coaching, it's less than the price of a family takeaway per month, and you can sign up below. There's no contract, no hidden fees, love it or leave it, but I know you'll love it. My coaching's basically, I don't use any sponsors in any of my videos. I sponsor my own, if you like. My coaching's something that is mine. I've created it. I've not just put my name on a supplement or something random like that. And it's really where transformation meets self-development, which is then realistic for people's lives, and then not all or nothing. So that's everything that I offer within my coaching. It's not just my recipes. So if you need help beyond the recipes, as well as access to them all, then just go below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And as I say, I'll link all the other ones that are useful either in the description or potentially somewhere here. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.